I can't encourage enough for all of you to find your own, what feeds your soul, what fills your cup, and embrace that. I think many times, Western society is very much individualistic and has focused on separation and owning things, and at the expense of unifying and belonging. And we're way out of balance on that. So I think we need to balance our sense of separation and owning with unifying and belonging. And so,
greetings, everyone, and welcome to When the Moment Chooses You. I am your host, Coach Charlene, and I am honored today to have someone very close to my heart, Miss Sara, on the program. So welcome to the show, Sara.
Thank you, Charlene. It's such a pleasure to be with you today. You warm my heart and have for many years. So it's nice to spend this time together.
Well, great. Well, I'm going to read your bio because I want people to know how awesome you are. So I hope that's okay. Okay. Now, so I'm going to just say Sara has led an academic and practice setting for 35 years as an advanced practice psychiatric mental health nurse. She's a teacher and practitioner and consultant, a program director, caring science endowed chair, a coach, and an academic practice partnership director. Wonderful. In 2022, she was inducted into the Global American Holistic Nursing. Through her academic and practice career, she has contributed to evidence and practice-based knowledge and development to ensure safety and quality of care. As a reflective leader, which totally I can vouch for, she focuses on being inwardly sound and other focus to influence change positively. She has co-authored a number of books on reflective practice, caring science, and Caritas Coaching. She is a Caritas Coach, HeartMath Trainer, Reiki Practitioner, and Healing Circle Facilitator. Through her journey, she has learned the necessity of connecting to one's own inner sources of wisdom, power, and healing, as well as the arts and humanities that once defined the discipline of nursing. She is passionate about facilitating critical, deep, and authentic connections that support resilience and the profession's evolution. She has a new book, Visionary Leadership in Healthcare, which is awesome, being published this month through Sigma. Welcome again.
Thank you.
So,
I feel like that says enough. Maybe we can have a conversation.
No, we're going to unpack some more of your radiance that I want them to feel what I felt. And so the way that I know Sara, I finished my master's during the double pandemic that we had. And I've been in school for a while as a nurse, but it was something different about Sara. She is very aware and very reflective because we were going through a lot during the double pandemic. And she, instead of her like pushing and getting things like overwhelming us with things, Sara, I noticed that you would always, it was almost like you're like this spiritual being that can tell that we were like burnt out. And so we needed to pause for a minute, and you did that in your classes. So I just fell in love with just her techniques and just how she was as a human being and emitting the light from her, having us be who we are today. So I'm extremely honored to have you because there was one word, one phrase that you used that actually helped to change a lot of things that I was doing. And you said, never allow anyone to make you shrink to fit. When you said that blew up all inside of me. And I have created messages about that, Sara. It was so profound because sometimes you need the words, the language to be able to demonstrate. So, Sara, let's start off with just your nursing career in particular. How did that all start for you?
Well, first, let me share the shrink to fit or stretch to grow. That actually was said to me about 20 years ago by my mentor, one of my many mentors, Dr. Dan Peshet. So I want to acknowledge Dan for saying that to me. To me, I was in a situation in my career where I was being asked to shrink to fit, and he was really encouraging me to find a way to stretch and grow and move beyond my current situation. So that's really, I love paying that forward.
Yes.
That we should all encourage each other to stretch and grow. So, yeah, my nursing career. I think I always was going to be a nurse. My mother was a nurse administrator, so I grew up with a nurse leader in my house. In her house, I was visiting, I guess, at the time. But and then my grandfather was a small town physician in a very rural community, and I would go with him to see patients in their homes. So both of those things really tremendously influenced me, and I think I've always had the desire to love and create and care for others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that. I mean, just your essence and what you bring to the table to your students and things like that. So that's wonderful. And so, has your journey been easy? I love that question.
I don't think most of ours has. I look back on the things that defined me, and I was a child of divorce. My parents divorced when I was 6 years old, and my mother, when I was 8, moved us across the country to live with family until she got on her feet. And then my older sister and I kind of became a latchkey kids, and we were actually minorities in our community. And while those things were really difficult at the time, I think they have enriched my life as I've grown older. It's made me really influence tremendously who I am today, wanting to create an environment where everyone feels valued and that they belong, because having an experience what it feels like not to feel like you're valued or you belong is tremendously painful, and cuts us to our core when we all have tremendous gifts that we're here on this planet Earth to offer to ourselves and others. And so I think I've spent a lifetime sort of on that search. What can I do to create a space where both myself and others feel that they belong and are valued?
Yeah. Wow. That's beautiful. Mm-hmm. So tell me about, because you've witnessed a lot burnout has always been around, unfortunately, especially increasing with our nursing profession. But over the last 2.5 years, what have you seen as a professor, as a coach, as a just human being? And what have you seen, and what do you think we need to do right now?
Mm-hmm. Wow. I've seen a tremendous amount of pain and suffering, tears. I've seen and witnessed and talked to more students in more tragic situations than I've ever experienced in my career, and read a lot on vicarious trauma to keep myself in balance so that I can support others. And it pains me to see nursing as a profession and individual nurses hurting so deeply, and I also feel some responsibility for some of that. Although I don't know how much we as any one person can do, but I've seen us over the last 25 years in nursing sort of moving away from our theory and our values and the ethics that underpin the profession of nursing. And while I have some of that to fall back upon, many of the younger nurses coming out of nursing schools haven't had that integrated into their nursing education. And so I think one of the things we need to do is reintegrate nursing theory and philosophy and ethics back into nursing education, so that during difficult times we have something to fall back upon, have something to hold us, to unify us as one. I think right now more than anything we need to unify and create a sense of belonging amongst all healthcare professionals.
Yeah. Well, what do you think I mean, as far as being a nurse, I've been a nurse now for probably about 28 years because I started out as a nursing assistant and just progressed up like that. But I noticed that if Charlene, I don't take care of myself, I'm in trouble. I'm not positive. I'm frustrated. All of those adjectives that go with being exhausted and burnt out. And then it's really hard and difficult to even recognize that I was once passionate about the profession. And so I guess my question is, what would a practitioner, a person, a nurse out there listening that really just feel kind of stuck, Sara? Do you have any advice for them that are kind of stuck?
Well, I think we all have to turn inward and get to know ourselves, really connect to our authentic selves. And some of us might need help with that. So there are plenty of programs out there now, or readings, wonderful readings, and on how to connect with our authentic selves and find out who we are, reconnect to our purpose and our values, and then be guided by that. There's no one recipe for any one of us. We all have to find our own path and our own journey, but we can do that. I've learned over the last few years, when I was sort of integrating my caring science and reflective practice work with Healing Circle's work, I really began to embrace the idea that healing occurs in community. And so I encourage nurses to get into some form of community somewhere where they can create a safe space to heal and find a group of folks that you connect with who can listen and that you can listen to.
Yeah, that's really powerful. Actually, I might have told you this. I'm not sure if I did, but you did a healing circle. It was you and Erica, and I was on it, and it had to do with self-compassion. And I sat on it, and I had one of my A&M sit on it. And after the end of it, we both ran to each other and just embraced each other and started bawling because I had to totally come off camera, because when you start talking about and you guys start really unpacking self-compassion and then the circles started happening, I recognized that I was not practicing self-compassion. And every time, and what I recognized in that moment of pause was every time something adverse would happen, Charlene would step up to the plate. Something else would happen. Charlene steps up to the plate. Yay, she saves the day. But as I kept doing that, I really started losing who I was, really. I was not true to myself anymore. And I had stopped showing my own self-compassion. So it was so profound when I sat in that healing circle and got that aha, because when I got the aha, it absolutely made me shift my trajectory all the way. Yeah. And so thank you for that work that you're doing. And I mean, it was so impactful. So I really appreciate you for that work. Do you have any advice for systems? Because, we always hear about, okay, we're going to transform ourselves and our systems. But what would you encourage systems right now in light of what you've witnessed with students and nurses? What could systems do to support nursing and healthcare professionals better?
I want to follow up on your statement, and then I'll move on to that question. But I've really enjoyed teaching with Erica Hooper. She's amazing. And we, a few years ago, developed an elective course, Wellness, Mind, Body, and Spirit. And I think we had 12 or 13 students, had to get special permission to run it the first time. Once a year, and now it's waitlisted every semester. We teach it twice a year, and it really is about self-compassion. Kristen Neff's work with Jean Watson's work in caring science, and they say we teach what we need to learn the most. So
yes,
I think a lot of us need to work on self-compassion. So I get as much out of it as I hope the students do. But again, it's laying that foundation and grounding and rooting students while they're still in nursing school or any of the health professions. We open this course up to anyone at the university, but it's creating, building their resiliency while they're still in school. So systems, what can systems do? I've been recently really inspired by some work by Sean Genwright, and he talks about the concept of collective care. And instead of self-care, which sometimes for us as nurses feels selfish, he talks about individual, relational, and systems or organizational care. And so when we think about it that way, how do we individually, what is our responsibility individually to care for ourselves? And then relationally, what is our responsibility to one another? What is my responsibility to you and your responsibility to me, Charlene, in creating a supportive, caring relationship with one another? And what does that mean to us? And then thirdly, and very importantly right now, that's what's really been lacking, I think, for many, many years, is the organization and system responsibility to care. So I think organizations and systems need to show up and to invest in nursing. Nurses are no longer interested in pizza parties and small tokens of appreciation. I think we want meaningful recognition and meaningful support and care. Just as in my mind, if I care for my students and love my students and support my students, then they will pay that forward and move that into the way they care for patients. And I think organizations and systems, especially at the executive level, executive leaders need to learn to love and care for themselves and radiate that same love and care out throughout the organization through meaningful programs and practices and policies that demonstrate that unity and belonging and that people matter.
Yeah, that's awesome. You said something about, and just wanted for a point of clarification. So now in nursing schools, we're actually teaching about resilience, right? Mm-hmm. I think that's profound, because I think that's the problem, because like a lot of my peers, they were never really taught how to be resilient. Mm-hmm. So that's why they're at this space of burnout now. So I think that's wonderful, a great strategy to intentionally put it into. So these are the undergraduates that are getting this information, right?
Right. And yet I really struggle with the word resilient at times. It feels like it puts all the ownership on the individual. And I don't think we can expect nurses to just keep being more resilient.
No.
No. You touched on the point that we need organizations and systems to create healthy, healing work environments. And I think that's, Jean probably mentioned this because she's the one that mentioned it to me, that she had recently talked to a nurse executive who said, I'm no longer focusing on retention. I'm focusing on creating a healthy, healing work environments where nurses want to belong. And so I think that's the direction executives at all level of healthcare organizations need to focus on, creating healthy, healing work environments.
Yeah, because I've even noticed, like, we even teaching different content and things like that. If I was in a session with a bunch of nurses and they were still in that place of pain and hurt and trauma from the last 2 years, and the person was kept trying to keep going on and on with the content, and they just were not there. They were not absorbing any of it. And so it had to be shifted to a place of wellness, to say, okay, let me acknowledge this pain that I'm hearing out of you. So I think that's really awesome to be able to do that, and that your recommendation there. So what else could we do, Sara? Just talk to us. Just talk to us.
I can't encourage enough for all of you to find your own, what feeds your soul, what fills your cup, and embrace that. I think many times Western society is very much individualistic and has focused on separation and owning things, and at the expense of unifying and belonging. And we're way out of balance on that. So I think we need to balance our sense of separation and owning with unifying and belonging. And so we all embark on that reflecting on what you balance or imbalance you have in those areas, and really, really care for yourselves. My practices, I have really been around reflective practice, which is really around curiosity, and I'm a lifelong learner and reader, and to find inspirational readings help me to really connect with my purpose and why I'm here. And then again, finding a community, a safe community where I can both listen to others and be listened to, helps me to hone my focus, and it gives me courage, really gives me courage to move forward. So I think my reflective practice journey led to my caring science journey, which continues to evolve into other articles. More recently, I found myself circling back to things I read 30 years ago. Bell Hook's work in Teaching to Transgress, and Pablo Fierro's work on Pedagogy of the Oppressed, and Mary Blinky's work on Women's Ways of Knowing. It's all about coming back into our hearts and to our intuition, and using that as a guidepost for our work in the world. So I think
Yeah. I'm curious, just as I sit here and look at you, what about your journey of discovery? Because it seems like you really got to a place where you kind of know what your calling is, so to speak, if you know what I mean. Like, how was that journey? Because you were a nurse, obviously, and then you transitioned into different things. So how did Sara find out, or are you still on that discovery journey?
I think I'm still on the discovery journey, but I'm more at peace than I've ever been. Maybe that partly is that I'm in my 50s now, and they say that's sort of when we feel like, well, what do we have to lose, So, but I think I've always been searching. I started out in psych mental health nursing and loved that work, but really readily focused on seeing how it was very biomedically focused. And I thought when in the 1990s, when the Decade of the Brain came out, that was going to be the best thing that ever happened to mental health and mental health care. And it ended up going in the opposite direction. It really became about medication management and moving away from the therapeutic aspect of care and looking at the individual situated within the family, the system, and the community. And then we let go of the psych CNS and moved to a nurse practitioner model, which again became more of an individual focus. And so the more psych mental health nursing focused on biomedical care, the more I realized it was no longer a fit for me in that narrow of a perspective. So that's really what led me to caring science and reflective practice work and moving into a more holistic perspective. So the last 15 years or so, it's really been embracing holistic ways of working with patients, but with nurses and with each other, and really showing up within taking responsibility for our own wholeness, but then also supporting other people's journey to wholeness as well.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So I always ask my guests to give us a top 3. Give me Sara's 3 wisdom pearls. And I'm going to leave it there. Sara's 3 wisdom pearls.
Know yourself, be yourself, and radiate love from your heart.
Oh, I love that. So know yourself, be yourself, and radiate love. And you do that so beautifully, Sara. And I just want to thank you for being on the show. I really appreciated it. You will never know how much you have touched my life. Just the short time that I've known you, you've actually helped to assist me to become the person that I am. And I really appreciate those mentors that actually see value and do something about it versus seeing value and squashing it or making it shrink. So really, you are such a wonderful light, bright, shining light for us and for the students. And I just wanted to honor you and thank you for all who you are and who you will become in the future, and just great thanks to you.
Thank you. It's my honor and pleasure to be with you, Charlene. Always. It always is. And I feel all the same things that you shared about me. I feel those same characteristics and values about you. So bless you. Thank you for all that you do to make the world a better place. Thank you.
Thank you so much.